Well, hi everybody. It's pretty cold and wet here. As cold as it gets in Adelaide, probably 10 degrees Celsius, and I know that some people are going to say, oh, that's not cold, and it certainly isn't compared to what you get in Canada and North America and the UK, but it's still been pretty cold and not very pleasant out here. I have made a little bit of progress though. The first thing is, you can see I've put some of this silver insulator on the floors. Now I know you can use Dynamat, and this is a similar sort of product. There's a little piece I've got here, and you can see it's got this sticky, very sticky bitumen based stuff on there. This is a I think an Australian product called dB Kill, which I guess stands for decibel kill. A lot cheaper than the Dynamat and does pretty similar job, I would imagine. Certainly better than the original tar paper that was down there. So I've done that, and that's a bit of progress. I've also painted, you can see I've painted the gearbox surround there and the front piece. Made a little piece of vinyl there to cover, which I'll have to remake because it doesn't quite cover that area there by the handbrake, but that's no big deal really. I've made all the interior trim panels with the exception of the insides of the doors, and these here you can see are the two back panels which are held in there, and also just down the bottom in there, and they're screwed to the outer part of the B pillar there. So they're not permanently fixed in place, but they're on there, and I'm pretty pleased with those. They've come up very well, and I think they're going to look good. I got the engine running the other day, and the overdrive, even after that video I made setting the overdrive with the dial gauge, it still didn't click in and out as it should. It didn't look like it was working at all, but it would appear that it was on all the time. So I basically undid the clamping nut, moved it manually to where I thought it would be, and locked it up, and it works a treat now. So all that faffing around with the dial gauge really didn't achieve very much at all, except to fill in time. The other issue I had was the fuel pump was running all the time at one point, so I thought, well, there's clearly a leak here somewhere, and I discovered it was squirting out of the carburetor, and I discovered that this was the reason. This is the float from the front carburetor, and if you listen carefully, I don't know whether you can pick that up or not, but it's full of fuel. I've never really had that problem before, but you can see it looks like it's been repaired at some point. There's a little solder there. So anyway, there's a lot of fuel in there, so it wasn't rising up enough to shut off the needle valve, and the carburetor was flooding. Fortunately, I had a spare one of those in amongst my souvenirs, so that sorted that problem. So there we go. That's progress on things so far. I've got a new boot lining kit to put in. I also have the carpet to reline the parcel tray, which I'll do, and a few other little bits and pieces. I am feeling particularly pleased with myself over something though, and I'll tell you what that is in a second. But that's the progress so far. Haven't done any work on the panel work again, waiting for the weather to warm up before I can do that. Well, as I said before, I'm feeling a bit pleased with myself, and I'll explain why. First thing is, it's very, very nice to get a little bit of interior work done on the car, even though it's probably a bit premature because I haven't finished all the painting. It just makes me feel like I'm doing something and getting ahead. So I decided I'd have a go at the seats, at least the metalwork around the seats. And this is, of course, one of the seat sliders. The original ones, and I thought, oh well, we can soon loosen that up and it'll be fine. I did that with my MGA, and there's no problem there. This is set solid, and as you can see, quite rusty there, and has certainly seen better days. So I decided that it really wasn't worth the effort, so I bought some nice shiny new ones. And here they are. These are from AH Spares in the UK. probably the same as Moss Carry or a head for Healey's or any of these companies, because they're probably made by the same people. They're very well made, nicely plated, ball bearings, everything exactly as it should be. They're ridiculously cheap, really. You can check the price on the net, but for what they are, they're really good value, and it just doesn't make sense to try and free up the old ones. Don't know how they make them so cheap. I guess they're probably made in a country where labour is a bit less than it is in the Western world. So I'll just pop those over there for now, for a second. The other thing is, and this is really why I'm pleased with myself, this is, of course, a seat pan. This is from my car. This is the only one that I have. This is the right-hand drive seat pan, the right-hand seat of a car, which, as any right person knows, is the driver's seat, not the other way around, as some people like to think. So I have one of these, and this one, as you can see, is really past repair. The tin worms really got into that, and it's pretty well had it. But there is enough there, I think, to be used for a pattern. Now, you can buy these, and they're not terribly expensive. Excuse me. My understanding is that they changed over the years. The original ones were wooden, the BN1s and the BN2s and the early BN4s. My car is a late BN4, and the BN6s also had these as well. This is doesn't have any mesh in here. My understanding is that they got some mesh in a little bit later on, and then eventually they went solid. And the reproduction ones that I've seen are solid. I quite like the opening here. I mean, not only is it original, but I think also when you sit on the cushion it probably lets a little bit of air out, which makes the drive a little bit more comfortable. So I could have bought some, but I had some winter days to fill in because I'm on holidays for a couple of weeks, and I thought, I wonder if I can make them. Can't be that hard, can it? So, they're made of 6 pieces of steel. I used this as a pattern. Took some measurements, made some paper patterns that you can see here, which I then used to draw around all sorts of strange shapes that make up the seat bases. This is for the actual base itself. That's pretty self-explanatory, I guess. So I made those. I then made up some wooden moulds, I guess you'd call them. This is for the base. So I marked the steel out. It's 1 mil steel, which I think is about 40 thou thick, so it's probably about SWG 18, 19, something like that, pretty solid. I marked that out, cut it out with a jigsaw. I could have used a nibbler, but I have a jigsaw and I quite like using it. The steel was then clamped between these 2 pieces of timber, which are just plywood, into the vise and G-cramps around them, and then I just hand beat all the flanges that I needed to beat around here. A little bit of cutting on some of the curves and a bit of welding. And this is what I ended up with. Actually 2 of them, because I made the other side as well. This is the left-hand side of the car, because this angle here comes in on the left-hand side. I decided that I would like a little bit of mesh underneath, so I bought some mesh and just welded that underneath there. This is all plug welded together. I don't have a spot welder, so plug welding works very well for me, and I've done a lot of it. It's easy. I think it's a terrific way to weld, but I'm not an expert, so who knows. The hardest bit was probably shaping these little strengtheners in here. Now, it's supposed to have 3. I put 2 in. That's the only thing that is different. And in fact, if you compare them, I think they almost look identical. If I hold it up the other way, it might be better. Almost identical. Holes are all in exactly the same places. As I say, I have 2 of them. They fit very well into the bases. I formed these. Of course, you need a metal roller to be able to form these in a wheel of some sort. I don't have one. So I just did them by making up a little wooden former like this with some angle iron to beat against. That went against the tin. I clamped it in place, and then I used a small ball peen hammer just to put the indentations in. It took quite a long time to do, but the effect is fine. I think it looks really good. It's very strong. I could have put a third one in. Because it was so difficult to do, I just left it at 2, and I really don't think it's a problem. Very strong. The other thing I discovered, and it's amazing how you can work on steel for so long, restoring cars. I've probably been doing it in various ways for 30 years, and I thought, well, how am I going to cut these large holes that are in here? Because they're about 1.125". The square ones are a different story, of course. So what I did was I bought one of these. This is, I'm sure that a lot of you have used these. This is a step bit, really probably for thin steel, because if you try and drill a hole in thin steel with an ordinary twist drill, particularly if it's anything of any substantial size, anything probably over 1/4 inch, 5/16, it ends up giving you almost a triangular shaped hole. It just doesn't work in thin steel. So I bought one of these. Actually, I bought 2. I got a pack of 2, now that one and this smaller one. I got these off the internet, off eBay. They're about 20 bucks for the pair, and I thought, well, they're not going to be much good, but I've only got to drill 8 holes. They were terrific. If you're drilling holes in sheet steel and you've never seen these, get hold of one, because they really are fabulous. So I think that's about it. As I say, very pleased with the progress. One of those. These are the steel bases. I had to do a little bit of repair work on those, a little bit of welding. They're fine. They haven't been painted yet, of course, and I think the weather's probably a bit too cool to paint them. But that, another one too, that and that, I think pretty good weekend's work. Took me probably 3 or 4 days to make them, but and as I say, as far as the labour cost goes, it's probably really not worth it. But there's great fun in doing that, and for me that's what the hobby is. So some progress has been made, and that's why I'm feeling particularly pleased with myself.